Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory, prices, and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Happy Wednesday.
Ruben Bressler.
Oh, right. We have to do a show this week.
Oh,
I'm
wait.
sorry.
Ooh, what?
I was busy.
I
was busy studying topics to do for that particular program.
Because there's quite a bit of craziness to talk about this week. It's gonna be
we
really...
have quite the smorgasbord. There's not really like a headliner topic, but there's a lot.
There's a little bit of a headliner topic. We'll get to it.
Fair.
Well, we also get started with our Trumpet Blast, which you can get one if you support us at our highest level on Patreon. You don't have one this week, but we did have one last week, and we kicked it off with the first pick and the giveaway. Put in that exclamation mark raffle into the chat to get entered for a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. Thank you, Cool Stuff, obviously, for sponsoring that.
And it's working this week.
And it's working this week. Well, sometimes you think it don't work, and then it catches up 40 messages in a row, and it's crazy. And if you don't watch us live, you don't get a chance to see that happen. So join us Wednesdays at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard.
Look at that.
Heyo.
Seamless.
Segue. All right. So the first pick this week is the Mythic Invitational continues to give and give and give. Now, this is not the Mythic Championship. Now, this wasn't something I don't think we were completely clear about last week. The Invitational is more like, and I think certainly from this point of view, a Pro-Am. Pro-Am where they take the pros, they take the maybe not so pros, they stick them together, you have a really cool promotional tournament, everyone has a good time, everyone made some money, high five, let's do it, okay? Because all the invites went out, and then all the people were reacting to those invites and who got one and who didn't and why and so on and so forth. It kind of I guess bled out in many ways, and that, you know, Caleb Durber came out and just like, look, don't drag someone because they don't fit whatever image you have of a pro player or someone who's supposed to be in this tournament. Yep. The people who they invited are good enough for Wizards, and that's the only vote that counts. Yeah. And he continues to note that.
Caleb knows how to work it. Oh. That is PR dreams, not PR nightmares.
Study, you know, if you're in that type of position, study what Caleb did here. He did a fantastic job at kind of responding here. And note, he said, you know, he got a sponsor's invite for a pro tour at one point, and even then he was there like, Caleb don't deserve derp after he's made, you know, GB top 8s and stuff, which is insane. So and so there was that kind of, you know, that kind of feedback of not just like, you know, well, so-and-so didn't make it and they should have, or so-and-so didn't and they should have, or whatever. Well, there was another point where BBD kind of came out and said, you know, I think I'm going to regret posting this, but he feels a little disconnected from the Magic community, from the negativity that kept coming back and back to this event, and how difficult it was to try to get to read the, you know, quote unquote rampant negativity on Twitter has made him feel like a piece of crap for enjoying and caring about something that everyone else hates, which is weird. You know, he's at the top and we're talking about this, and Jon Stern responds and whatnot in terms of like, you're disenfranchising a lot of people who aren't part of the elite and aren't being chosen part of the invites. So, and everyone who used to, basically all the grinders, I mean, Ruben, you remember, we used to grind it out. And there's no grind for this. I mean, even for the MPL, which we haven't even started talking about, but just this tournament, there's no grind to it.
There's no grind for the Invitational. There's no Silver Showcase grind. There's no Pro-Am grind. There's getting famous at something, be it streaming or another game or whatever.
And there is the top 8 ranked people at the end of the month, and that is unhealthy, Wizards. That is bad.
That's very unhealthy. Hearthstone did that for a month. Wow. I would imagine that there are, I don't know, what do you think, 20,000, 25,000 people playing Arena right now, total?
I don't know, honestly.
Would be my guess. Maybe up to 50, but certainly more than 20. I'm going to say about 25. Worldwide, Hearthstone did this, and they had 3 servers, North America, Europe, and Asia, and it was unhealthy then. And this is, it's weird that they were able to see how this failed with Hearthstone and then just chose not to learn from that. But anyway, so in this particular case, those 8 people are going to get that $7,500 in the free hotel and whatever, and hopefully they get enough sleep.
I mean, those last 24 hours, And there are some streamers right now who are trying to stay at the top of the rankings.
Oh, yeah.
And they just grind it like all day, 16 hours, grind, because that's what it's going to take. In those last 24 hours, you have to bet that everything starts breaking your way. No one's going to start trolling you with roping you or whatever, and that you can make it to the end, and God help the person who's in 9th place. I mean, seriously.
They're going to end up like, this is a reference like 5 of you will understand. They're going to end up like Blanche in The Golden Girls, when Blanche got the idea to be a novelist and she stayed up all night and was delirious from the sleep, and Rose was cracking the eggs and she thought the egg yellows were eyes. It was a pretty great moment.
This is a really niche reference. I love it, and I'm glad you did it, and I hope that the 3 people in chat who appreciated that joke were here for it.
Well, look, we want to thank you for being a friend. That's what we're trying to do here. Well, look.
Likewise.
So, Aaron, so the invitations were out. The invitational was announced. People were reacting and you know, being blown away by it or whatever. And then something happened to a streamer named Mafer. Is that right? Mafer? Mafer.
So Mafer is a young lady from Mexico. She's part of the Haruruya, either Hopes or Haruruya Girls, one of them. She was one of the young ladies who was invited to the Mythic Invitational. And a short time after she was invited, she locked her Twitter account. And she became the victim of a harassment campaign in which people were taking screenshots of tweets that she had posted that were allegedly out of context in trying to say that she did not like gay people and that she didn't like people with Down syndrome. So this led to a huge controversy. She ended up posting an apology and tried to explain the tweets as that she was replying to hashtags and tweets and that she didn't feel that way. And she ended up bowing out of the Mythic Invitational. She chose to not go. And this was really, really disappointing. This was also very difficult to track. Me and several we're trying to keep tabs of the situation, and you had the language barrier, which made it very difficult to understand what was going on. You had cultural differences. We didn't really know who the major players were. And so I had initially commented on it, and then I realized very quickly that I didn't have all of the information, and I probably wasn't going to get all of the information either. And it was very disappointing. I think that she posted tweets she shouldn't have. And she was also the victim of a harassment campaign. Those things are not mutually exclusive. We saw this with James Gunn when James Gunn was taken out by Mike Cernovich. For those playing along at home, Mike Cernovich is a racist, homophobic, transphobic, rape apologist who doesn't give a crap about children, but he understands how moral outrage works. And so there are people out there who know which wells to pull from. They pull from the children well. The judges are going to put your children in sacks and carry them away. You see that with bathroom bills. You know, they try to sell these things as if women are in danger. And so there are people out there who know what buttons to push to get you to be upset. And so I don't think for a second that these people give a crap about the sanctity of magic. They really cared about silencing somebody, and it's unfortunate that it worked.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really sad. You know, she is the #1 magic YouTuber in Mexico. Certainly deserving of an invite by the metrics that were laid out of being a popular streamer who creates magic content and creates specifically arena content from demographics that they value. And so, you know, this really, I mean, it was kind of targeted. I mean, there was the opportunity there to hook onto it because of the history, but it certainly was a case of concerned trolls taking over, which is just not something I'm happy about.
I think the way to also put it is I am so grateful. I am so grateful I did not have Twitter or Instagram or Facebook when I was 13, when she did some of this stuff. Oh my God.
Well, I think it came out that she actually was a little bit older, but you're not wrong. I mean, growing up in this day and age is so different. Like, I can't imagine what it's like.
Right. Growing up and you said one thing wrong or one thing stupid or one thing you should have never said and you didn't even know you should have never said it. Yeah. Oh my God.
We're fast approaching the point where our candidates for political office, specifically the presidency, are going to be looked under a fine-tooth comb, and it will all have been on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and theoretically Snapchat. Like, those files exist. I hate to break it to you, they don't just disappear and go into the ether forever. But so we're gonna have political campaigns at some point where it's like, did you know that in 2014? The major senatorial person running in Minnesota liked Nickelback or whatever. Yeah, and it's
they hung out in dank memes or whatever.
Just go back. Yeah. There are lots of for those of you who are, and I've done this before, and I need to do it again. Go back and delete all your old stuff. There are programs that you can download that will help you clean everything that you tweeted. Like my Twitter account is 10 years old or whatever. It'll go back and delete anything that's 5 years old or older.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least lock it. I recently deleted a comedy album that I had on SoundCloud off of SoundCloud because I don't want it used out of context. Because I had some, I had comedy bits on there that not everyone would, would be happy with, I would think, if I became suddenly famous, or, I don't want to become a milkshake duck, essentially.
Well,
so I think that it is a little bit of self-preservation. But going back to the main topic here with Mafer, I just feel horrendously bad for her, even though, the things that she was accused of or did were not great. But, certainly I've seen worse and not had punishment levied upon people for that.
Good faith is certainly a factor.
Yes.
Yeah. So on February 1st, and that was last Friday, Mafer MTG has informed us, this is what Magic Pro Tour tweeted out, Mafer MTG has informed us about her withdrawal from the Mythic Invitational. We'll have more information about who will be invited next as soon as it's available. We look forward to a fantastic Mythic Invitational in March. And later, it showed up on the 4th, that was Monday. On Monday, they tweeted out, "We are pleased to announce Caleb D. MTG as a new challenger joining us for the Mythic Invitational at PAX East."
Seems good.
For more information about it, blah, 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 here's the article to go to.
Well deserved.
Yes, very well deserved, which is fantastic. And
I'll be honest, I love Caleb. I would have preferred if it was another Spanish-speaking content creator.
And that's fair.
But, I also am not gonna. Caleb is well deserving. He won the Twitch Rivals event. He's one of, if not the most popular Magic streamer right now. It's absolutely.
Oh yeah, does the work. Has the stats. Caleb's great. I've known him for years. So Jeff Hoagland is a very prominent community figure.
He's also presently going supernova right now.
He really is, like 3,200 subscribers. Like, I don't think any other Magic creator gets anywhere close, to be honest, but that's a lot.
And the sheer volume of content that he puts out too
is
absolutely
impressive.
3 decks a day. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Plus he writes articles on CoolStuffInc.com, and she wrote a new one on there today if you want to check it out.
Nice. But
he sometimes has an issue communicating, I guess is a way to put it. In many terms, he tweeted out, "Well, confirm we won't be doing anything official with WotC anytime soon unless I change drastically. Rather be honest than bought and paid for. Glad Hooglandia has my back." So that didn't go well. I guess is a way to put that.
Shocking that didn't go well.
It somewhat implies that those who are invited or are sort of in the good graces of Wizards have been bought in or paid for, which he didn't mean, and he has pointed people several times to a Twitch clip where he explains himself, to which I would note that if you have to point to a Twitch clip that explains yourself, you probably didn't explain yourself very well the first time, so we could work on that. All right? That's cool. And there is essentially, as it continued onward, there was a conversation about how he had spoken to Wizards, and Wizards felt like his involvement was a liability, and later tweeted about said conversation. Later, Mark Herberholtz, Pro Tour winner, old school Magic player, come in, and he says, "Look, the fact that they felt that they were put in a position to shun their top streamer, which he is the top streamer, to protect their brand, yet had the decency to have a private conversation with you about it, only for you to make that private conversation public, just reinforces that they made the right choice."
I had to read that one twice just to make sure I got it all.
Yeah, and it was tough to see something like that, but I do think I want Jeff to take this as a learning moment. I think that there are some issues with his combativeness. And there is some issues with when he feels he is correct. He really, really seriously wants to dunk on essentially people who he feels are incorrect. And those two things have kind of been at war for a while. And he's been asking for examples of his behavior and whatnot, which again comes across as a little combative. Athena, I think, did a really great job of pointing out exactly what went wrong, what we could have done, and why that's better. But it's been kind of a wild little ride here for Jeff, at least the past couple days. Kind of reeling from this stuff.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because Jeff he's a unicorn. He's so unique in the way that he pursues creating content. The environment that he's built on his channel with involvement from the community is enviable. You know, he showed up to an open famously in an owl costume. His fans, Hooglandia are extremely loyal and passionate and friendly. Every time I've interacted with the streaming community there, it's been good for me. It's just, you know, it's a PR nightmare. There's no other way to say it. I mean, it's just, you know, Aaron and I are both available. If anyone out there feels like they need social media marketing and coaching, we are available. And the bottom line for me is twofold. One is the major Magic player problem that I run into all the time and I used to suffer from is that Magic players are smarter than most people in regular society, and people who are at the top of that game are smarter even than that. The problem is that they think they're right 100% of the time, even when they're only right 98% of the time. So they never know when they're wrong. And that's a problem, and people need to learn from that. And there is a route back from this. There is you know, I think that what he's doing presently, which is sort of taking a step away from social media for a while, is the right move. I think that it's good to get out of the public eye, not try to combat anymore, and stay away from it. You know, the three of us have a segment called The Red Zone. We get mad at each other on the regular. We have Twitter disagreements and social media arguments all the time. And yet we're still able to do it in a constructive manner. Yeah. And so that's the route forward. Is I think that you can continue to have the outsider mentality without it being quite so abrasive.
He tweeted about 2 hours ago, or I guess 3 now, that he's going to take a Twitter break for a while. Right, wrong, some muddled gray area in the middle. I'm becoming what I hate, and I need to fix that. Going to just focus on making good content for now, which again, I think he has. I think that there has been harm done. I think it is not unfixable, but but as with most things, it's going to take some time, and it's going to have to take maybe some change, different strategy, different way of communicating, different way of criticizing, for example, which I think he's had a big issue with mainly, which is the assumption that if you feel a decision is wrong, then that company is full of morons who never knew, you know, their butt from a hole in the ground. And you're like, right. Well, maybe they had reasons that you're not privy to as to why Stoneforge Mystic is banned in Modern or whatever, you know, like, but, and the issue and the way you want to fix those things, like if you want to make real inroads with how Magic works and how Magic is going to be played and shaped in the future, you have to lay out an argument. Like R&D is literally professional arguing like 90% of the time. So imagine you're in R&D and somebody on the internet posts a crazy, you know, game state that they lost on turn 2 or whatever, and they're like, you know, Stoneforge Mystic not okay in Modern. Like that's not, you're not going to take that as your argument to R&D and say, hey, maybe we should, you know, take this off the ban list. That's not going to work. But what if you built decks with Stoneforge Mystic and tested them out against the field and posted your results and made a whole article about how you felt it was fine because X, Y, and Z happened when you actually put in the work to test the matchups? Those are the types of arguments that are going to change minds, not trying to dunk on people who you think don't know what they're talking about. That's one example for me in ways that you can, if you want to make change happen, particularly in Magic, a whole bunch of top A personalities, a whole bunch of smart people, the dunking thing ain't going to work, man. It feels too much like bullying, and Magic players have had enough bullies in their lives, you know, generally, that it doesn't. We don't need to go that route. We need to go the explanation.
I think Jeff has figured it out. I mean, that apology certainly feels real.
It does.
And as the New York Friars Club roast says, we only roast the ones we love. We only criticize Jeff here because we think that there's room for growth. Otherwise, we would ignore you entirely. And so, you know, that's you know, here's hoping.
I mean, you can certainly note, you know, week to week, who we don't talk about. And so that's a choice that we make, both who we do talk about, who we don't talk about. You know, I like Jeff. I've seen Jeff grow and change over time, and I know that he can continue to get better. And I have faith in him, and that's about all I got for that one. All right, so let's move on here to Gather the Townsfolk, and I'm going to try to pull this up so that Ruben can talk about it the right way.
Yeah.
Oh, step it. Let's see if I can get it going without the audio. That's kind of the
that would be cool.
That's the issue.
Yeah, this is just we're talking
set
about.
Us up here.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, I am also the dungeon master for Ravnica: The Broken Pact on twitch.tv/D&D, which was the original Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica show for Dungeons and Dragons, which was great. And we officially have season 2 coming this coming Monday night.
Oh no!
What happened?
No, it loaded up an ad.
Oh, okay. Well,
oops.
Free advertising for whoever that is.
Free advertising, you got it.
And yeah, so we're coming back for a season 2. I'm very happy about that with our players Jordan Pridgeon, Riley Silverman, Gaurav Galati, and Ashlyn Rose. Those are some names that you might recognize from around role-playing games. And of course, Ashlyn is a big cosplayer and has appeared on the Command Zone and tons of other stuff as well. At the end of last season, they finally tracked down one of the bad guys, but it turns out that he was actually a copycat killer, and they need to find who the real killer is now, in addition to having earned themselves a bit more fame and a bit more fortune along the way. And yeah, for those of you that haven't watched us before, you know, it's long-form interactive storytelling. And we're taking the world that was provided to us by the set that we're currently playing in, Ravnica Allegiance, and War for the Spark coming out soon, and all that good stuff. So please do join us. I really would love for you all to join us this Monday evening is the season premiere on Saving Throw Show and twitch.tv/D&D.
Very nice.
Nice work.
Well, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. You got a second season. They don't do that for stuff that doesn't exactly work. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah. And we one of the things we needed to do was not be on Saturdays. We were on Saturdays last season, but our YouTube numbers were so much better than our live streaming numbers that it was obvious that we would have a bigger audience on a weekday. So hopefully that holds true. You know, the shine is a little bit off the apple at this point since we're on season 2 instead of a brand new show, but hopefully we'll keep getting better and better as things go on.
Fair enough. All right. So moving on here, there was a state of product design 2018 written by Gavin Verhey. Now, Gavin, first of all, I think, in my opinion, you're starting to see him really become sort of more ingrained. I really think that he is sort of gearing himself up to take the baton from Rosewater at some point in the future, maybe it's 10 years or 20 years from now. He's very public facing. He's very open and wants to talk to you about even if things you might be criticized about. He wants to have a conversation about it. He's obviously loved and worked on Magic for a while now, so that's terrific. And I think articles like this really show you that, you know, he's a great writer, first of all, who can really communicate why he does things or why he thinks something's great, but also that this is, again, a very, you know, a very loud speaker for Wizards, you know, to the world is how Gavin is telling us about these products. So first of all, Masters products. This would be Masters 25, where they completely pooped the bed, and Ultimate Masters, where it was like, holy cow, this thing's amazing. So there was that. They note that there is no more Masters sets coming. They're just not doing it. Originally, Ultimate Masters was called Immortal Masters.
That's a great name.
Which was the Graveyard set, as we know.
It's a really good name.
It was a great name. But the set did extremely well, and yeah, it was more expensive, but by God, it sold, and they're getting close to $400 a box right now.
Wow.
And I begged people, I told people all day, $280 shipped from from CoolStuffInc.com. This is like the product, like if you never spec on Magic, and I mean if you never invest in Magic, this is the one that you invested in.
Yeah,
because I thought of getting a box, and I never buy boxes.
Yeah, the deal is it's just so good. So anyway, that said, they said they're not going to do it anymore. They're not going to explain sort of why. The rumor mill is going pretty hard right now because they said modern players pay attention at the end of February. Okay. In this article, they talk about how popular pre-constructed decks are, like super popular. The challenger decks were insane. Would they really make a modern challenger deck where they actually go there and give you all the goodies? I don't think so. There's $1,200 decks in modern. That to me is just too extreme, which to me comes back to my theory I've had for a very long time, which is they're going to make a set that is modern and back legal only. It's going to have new cards and reprints. So the new cards are going to be a question mark, so you don't know what the EV is going to be. Because right now with master sets, you can just, type in the names of the cards and shoot out, spit out an EV in 3 seconds. Well, if there's brand new mythics or even brand new commons and they do something crazy and you're not aware of it, God knows what the set is worth. How good are those mythics? How much do you want to buy a pack? And note what this does. Modern players don't really buy a lot of packs. They buy a lot of singles. They'd buy packs if the only way you could get a new True Name Nemesis 2.0 or whatever was from this set. And also give a reason for stores to buy it and open it because it has all the reprints in it.
And you're saying it would only be in Modern, not Legacy or Vintage?
No, it would be in Modern.
No, it'd be Modern back.
It'd be Modern back.
Okay.
I mean, things like Conspiracy already exist where it's Legacy back, so I don't see why they couldn't do this.
Okay. Yeah,
right. It's not that much crazy. But that said, let's talk a little bit about what Wizards did wrong with Ultimate Masters, because they did a lot right with Ultimate Masters, okay? Here's what they screwed up, all right? For the cool stuffs and the card kingdoms and the channel fireballs of the world, when Wizards said, hey, surprise, we're going to have a new master set in, what was it, like a month or something out when they said it?
Yeah.
And it's not only going to be a master set, it's going to be like $330 MSRP. Okay, here's what Wizards just said to a whole bunch of stores. All right, I want you to take on hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory, and I want you to get that money right now on a question mark for a series on a set where the last one burned you real brightly.
Right. Yeah. Okay? I see where that's a problem.
So then they got to get that capital, right? So then they're probably going to put stuff on credit cards or whatever. And so in order to get all that stuff in, so they had to be bum rushed with the cost. And then they got the product. Well, when they get the product, they're scared that they're going to get burned and left out in the cold, just like they did with the last one. So they're like sort of fire selling it for, for maybe $250 or $260 or whatever, some prices I've seen out on there to try to get that money back as quickly as possible. Remember, the singles like drove straight down to the bottom for the first couple weeks and then like super rebounded because all of those stores needed to get back all that capital. So they're selling it for less because they're trying to get back their investment. The money they used for that investment, they probably had to borrow or pay high interest on in order to get it because they were surprised. So the smaller shops of the world got the worst of both worlds. They got all of the costs up front and surprising on that, and they got to try to get their money back, but it turns out if they'd have sat on it, they'd have had a much better investment. But because they had put themselves in such a position to get the product, you can't sit on it. I mean, it's again, large businesses, big old businesses can absorb those types of things, fluidly. But the mom and pops of the world, they don't have, $100,000 to buy a bunch of boxes. And
this is another, it's related to this, which is that the communication from Wizards has not been great over everything. Yeah. We still don't know when War for the Spark is happening officially, which is horrendous for stores.
And we're trying to plan a set review.
Right, and we're trying. Yeah, for us personally, it's tough because we don't know when we are doing things. It's going to be horrendous if the set is coming out April 6th. That's like season finale. I don't know if it is. We don't know yet.
We don't know.
If it is, that's bad for me because I'm still recording the Broken Pact on Twitch.tv, and then I can't go to Orlando that weekend.
Right.
So we're still in a holding pattern on that. Much less the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you would need to put into a holding pattern for Mystery Masters 3.0.
Yeah, it's awkward. We keep on moving here through welcome decks and planeswalker decks. This is where they explain that the precons were great. The new welcome decks are great. They've been working super well.
Right.
There's the Spellslinger starter kit, which is sort of the I'm at Walmart and I like Magic and what do I get when I want to get started? This is the way to learn. That's a cool thing. It did fine. They said didn't kill it. Whatever. Magic Game Night. They had mentioned that it's doing all right, although it's too early to tell. Let me tell you, I'm not a big fan, and it didn't do super great. On the cool stuff side of things, maybe it's doing better in the Walmart Target side of things.
Right. Maybe it's also could be a regional thing, you know.
Sure. Challenger decks were unbelievable.
I bought one.
I did too, and they crushed it, and they had to run back and do a quick reprint after the first one just immediately sold out. So I think they're going to be absolutely ready for this new batch. For me, the question is, are they going to give us 4 History of Benalia? You know what I mean? Are they going to are they going to go all the way with that white? Because there's going to be a white.
They could do modern Challenger decks also.
Right.
Was the other
Well, that's
option.
what we were talking about earlier.
I don't.
Well, there are some people in the finance world that said, look, they could do a modern deck for like $100, and it doesn't have to be all shocks, all fetches, all whatever. There's like Merfolks, there's Bogles. There's a way that you can have
can do burn without a ton of fetches and shocks also. Right.
So there's options, I think, of really cool modern decks. Yeah.
8 rack, there you go.
But we'll see again. Battle Bond, he notes, was a huge success, which it was basically Commander's Masters.
I love Battle Bond, and it got lost in the mix during last summer because everything that gets released during the summer gets lost in the mix.
Yeah.
This day, it's my favorite thing to draft.
Well,
I never got to draft with it. I did enjoy. I mean, I've loved Two-Headed Giant for a while, so I liked it for that. But it also had a lot of cards that slid in very well into Commander. Those really sweet lands with like the luxury suite, those were a big hit. I believe it was Undaunted, the one where like the spell cost less for each opponent you had. There was also the one where they could help you pay for spells. Like the way that they got it to help more than one format. I think if it was just Two-Headed Giant, I don't think it would have done as well. Maybe that's my hot take. I think the fact that you made it appeal to 2 very popular casual groups, I think, is what led it to being so successful.
I agree with that.
And that's fair. Ultimately, I mean, I think, designing for Two-Headed Giant kind of by default almost heads into Commander, which is a nice byproduct, honestly. He goes to mention Commander 2018, which was a huge success, which remains a huge success. They have printed and reprinted these things because they just keep selling. People love the idea that you have a Commander deck just ready to go. Like sometimes it's tough to get 100
I got into Commander. I bought a Daxos deck. I bought the Daxos deck. I went to MTG Goldfish. They had an article series where you could pay $20 and upgrade one of the precons. I bought $20 worth of singles, and I had a competitive deck that was winning pods at my store.
There you go. So it was a super cool product. It remains a fantastic product, and they're going to work on reprints. I think was the big one. Was reprints weren't great this time around.
And with the Windgrace deck specifically, he said that there could have been more cards, specifically the Spider, that actually played well with the Lands Matters theme. Yeah, but they didn't really go as hard on that as they should have.
Right. Guild kits were a thing. Guild kits were pre-constructed decks with a pin and a spin down, and they all had the guild symbol as like the rarity, the quote-unquote set symbol.
And the pretty lands too, right?
Oh, and the gorgeous lands, which were amazing. They did great, and they're going to be doing stuff like that in the future, and that's good. Not every set is going to line up to allow them to have 10 products to release with 10 different pins or whatever, but
I don't think it makes sense to anyways. I think the Ravnica guilds are so much more personal. And I think that there are people there are so many people that put their identity into those color combinations. I don't think it would mean as much if you went to Theros and you were like, I'm Polukranos, I'm Perforos. Like, I don't think it's going to have the same.
I identify with the sun god.
But there are people who, I know people that have tattoos of their guild affiliations and who, wait for that, to come back around to be a Ravnica set that it speaks so much to them. I'm not surprised that the guild kits were such a hit.
Oh yeah, they were a monster success, and that was great.
Oh yeah, no surprise there. It's like your horoscope.
Yeah, really.
You know what wasn't a success?
What's that?
Storm in Walmart. Why did they put Storm in Walmart?
Listen, I think it's fine.
No, it's not. It's dead now. They killed dual decks.
What a way to go, though.
They killed them. Okay. Elves versus inventors.
Think of the representation. There is probably a little child at home who is sitting alone in their attic bedroom.
That's right.
Gold fishing storm, and when they get old enough to ride their bike to the game store, all of you are in trouble.
Storm in Walmart is perfect for kids who want to goldfish in their room. That is exactly right.
Thank you.
What cruel and unusual things do we do to these children to get them storm decks? What? And then I do what? And then we copy for how many times?
Listen, when I was at the pre-release, I got to meet Kathleen and Graham's little girl. And let me tell you, I told them that if they want, I will send them a Dakmor salvage to put in her stocking. Just get them started.
Nice.
Yeah. Start them out young.
Absolutely.
Well, look, San Diego Comic-Con was touched on. The San Diego Comic-Con promos have done various degrees of effectiveness, essentially. One time there was a plastic axe with Garrick's plastic axe for a while.
I still have my Origins Planewalkers over there if anybody wants those.
Oh, yeah, those are hot fire. So, you know, the 2017 version with the Nicol Bolas poster only did okay. Then they had to go back to the lower price point and the familiar model, and they sold, and the art was great. But they're going to try to hopefully do something a little bit different. They've definitely been copying and pasting this idea for like 5 years now or something.
This was an idea that I thought was like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, even if it's not great. Like they have something that's good, and good is good enough for a Planeswalker collectible, right?
I mean, the Goonies are good enough. That's what I think.
I've still never seen that movie.
I love the Goonies.
Get some culture. For real. You haven't seen the Goonies?
I've never seen the Goonies. No, I've also never seen Labyrinth. That's another movie people have expected.
Ooh, that one's rough. That one hits hard.
Yeah,
I don't know that one.
Here's the fun part. I want you to watch the Goonies, and when you do, I want you to think about the fact that that movie was one of the movies that required PG-13 to exist.
I also fell asleep during The Princess Bride, so I've never seen that all the way through.
Well, now I have to hang up. We have to move
you know what, guys? It's been a good run. We appreciate you guys for hanging out. It's been real.
Yeah, The Princess Bride might be the perfect movie. You're wrong, and I hate you.
That's fine.
We don't want to turn this into a Red Zone, y'all.
We can't turn this into a movie podcast.
The point is, there were theme boosters that were introduced in 2018. This would be for, they started a small number of them for Dominaria, which was cool, and they were the test was a big success, and now they're a main sets lineup going forward. So now you can get theme boosters for your Ravnica guilds, and who knows how they're going to theme them in the future. But the idea that I just want X type of cards, yes, it's a random assortment, but I want that is a product that people were looking for and filled a niche, and that's really cool. Mythic Edition.
Oh boy.
Okay. All right.
What were the comments?
Okay. All right. Here we go. Look. There's a couple things here, all right? Just like Wizards can't acknowledge that a secondary market exists and cards are worth money, and depending on what they put in sets, the sets are worth X dollars versus Y dollars. They can't, I don't think, really talk about the fact that the type of thing that Mythic Edition is where Hasbro's like, I really need you to make me millions of dollars, like right now. And I want to give you this revenue expectation, and I want you to hit it. And I don't care how you're going to hit it. I want you to come up with some ideas to hit it. And they're like, okay, fine. We'll make this product that we sell directly. Because when they sell through distribution, they're losing 50% plus of the dollars that is ultimately going to be sold for, particularly of the MSRP. So if they're selling it directly for MSRP, they keep 100% of that money. And clearly from the sales of Mythic Edition we saw, they made, $1.2 million in an hour or something crazy?
Something like that. They
made a whole bunch of money really fast.
Right.
He notes here that, yes, the initial outlay using the Hasbro Toy Shop was a disaster. Ravnica Legia Mythic Edition went up, and besides listing going down and up for some reason, that was weird. They made like 2 or 3, 4 different listings or whatever. They sold out, as far as I can tell, and it is worth more than it was being sold for, which I don't think it's going to be as worth as much as the original guilds, which I think is twice the value as what you paid for it. I have heard sales of $400 for the Ravnica Allegiance Mythic Edition. So it's both like, it's a nice thing in that, it's nice to notice that there is a whole subset of really high-end collectors who want really pricey, hard to get stuff. That's a thing that exists, and it's okay to cater to that market. The issue is that they're cutting out stores, they're cutting out the middleman, and they're giving Hasbro a huge cash influx into something that may not last that long. These are types of things that they get kind of money drunk with, and they're like, oh man, we're going to do X and Y and this, and let's do 2 Mythic editions for War of the Spark because reason X and Y.
What's left is my question. Like, I feel like there's going to be a Mythic edition for War of the Spark, right?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
And the assumption here is that they're going to do the members of the Gatewatch, right? Like, we'll get a Jace Beleren, we'll get like a Nissa Revane, right? Like that's the angle that we're going on here. I don't know. I mean, this is really worrisome from a business standpoint of, like, as I touched on a little bit last week, Hasbro doesn't exactly have cash flow. I wasn't trying to be a rapper, but I guess that's what I am now. The Hasbro cash flow, it ain't what it used to be, bro. And they're just trying to squeeze Wizards, who has, for at least the last couple of years, been their major bestseller when there isn't a Transformers movie happening in terms of brand. And so they're going, hey, we aren't making as much money from My Little Pony and from Hot Wheels as we'd like. You know, release a Mythic edition right now, or you're in deep doo-doo. And it's not healthy. It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. That's the biggest issue, is that Hasbro is going to not only expect this to be sustainable, but that it's supposed to grow. Remember, you know, capitalism, all about that growth. We cannot shrink. We cannot do less than what we have done the previous year. And Wizards has done things behind the scenes to make certain, you know, projections or make certain expectations that have existed out there. And someone said something like, they don't understand why they can't acknowledge a secondary market. To be honest, I don't know the exact legal reason. I do know that when some things like this come up with Wizards, and I go like, well, why can't you acknowledge this? And they said, well, legal said not to. And legal, it rules all at Wizards. I assure you, if legal said don't do X, they don't do X. I don't care what it is, how weird it sounds. They said don't acknowledge the secondary market. What's a secondary market, y'all? I don't know. I just like my job at Wizards, and they just kind of wander off.
Isn't legal the same people who makes them use the goofy hashtag?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hashtag WotC staff.
Hashtag WotC staff. That was 100% legal. Legal said it had to happen, and you don't argue with legal because they're legal. That's how it works. Signature spellbook Jace was really cool. I thought
it was.
It kind of hit a middle ground.
I'm surprised that this was a success, because I didn't, and maybe it's just the circles that I run in, but I've played a lot of Commander. I've traveled a lot over the country. I've played, you know, competitive Magic. I can honestly say I've never really sat across the table from these. So was this just a collector thing, or?
Yeah, it was basically like
a little bit.
It was sort of from the vault, but I think people really quickly figured out, like, this was not supposed to like sell out. This isn't supposed to be.
Because I was expecting to see them like in the wild. Like I was expecting to maybe see the brainstorms or see something, and I just haven't. And I know that like it's just my experience, but I haven't seen any.
I saw some on coverage just this past
I've seen a few things. Yeah.
On the SCG covers, they had some on there. But they noted that while it wasn't, you know, selling out everywhere, the greatest thing ever, it was successful, and they do plan on doing some stuff in 2019 with it, and we'll see what happens. The chat here is noting that it has to do with price fixing, because they're randomly giving objects that have differing values.
Okay. You can't run your own lottery.
Packs become lottery tickets. I mean, look, Wizards had to literally overhaul the entire Wizards judge program, because they used to pay the judges in foils that cost them a couple dollars worth of foils, whereas the actual retail value was like $600 to $800, and that's called tax evasion. So they couldn't do that anymore. So they had to come up with a whole new program, and now they give out the judge foils. Yeah, now they
off the home game.
No, right? So now they have to give the judge foils out through, like, what do they call it? Like the Premier something program.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that's cool.
Exemplar program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, here, Commander Anthology Volume 2 was fine. He's like, we make them and people buy them, and every time we make them, they sell. And so we're going to sell them when we get around to it. Right.
Excellent. Hit the stamp, send it on. Good job.
I appreciate the candor in how Global Series Zhang Yangu and Mu Yanling was a gigantic dumpster fire. It was a gigantic failure, and I mean like failure. I mean like,
it's kind of ironic that a lot of the arguments that Gavin had for this kind of remind me of how we got to Nexus of Fate, where they were like, we wanted to design this unique product, but they were very scared about the power level. And they were very scared about making these cards good to where it would create availability issues. Cut to, you know, less than a year later, you know, Nexus of Fate happens. And so it's interesting how that worked out.
I mean, look, they wanted, it's like this weird, I still don't understand this whole thing, is that they decided the safest thing to do is to make them legal in mainland China standard events only. Why? Yeah. And then they're like, okay, so we had to make them poop. So you didn't want them because their power level was bad. You could only play them in a certain place, but the place you could play them, it would embarrass you to play with cards that were that bad.
I mean, at that time, China was still getting events.
Hey-o, I'm just like, look.
And it's also not like China needs more dumpster fires.
It's just, it was unsatisfying on multiple levels, as he mentions here. People in the rest of the world who could get the cards can't really use them effectively elsewhere because, you know, who wants that? So it was a series of bad decisions that led to a product that really, really underperformed. And you know, cool stuff. I mean, we've had to put them on some pretty significant sales in order to move the quantity that we have.
We should give them away as giveaways on the show.
Can we give them away? Would anybody in chat take them?
Anybody want a global series deck?
Have a Santa stocking full of Mu Yanling tokens.
It's like fruitcake. You can't get rid of them. Like, here, take it.
Mm-hmm. So it hurts. It hurts.
See, at least one person in chat is like, "Don't give me." Two people. Chat's like, "Don't give us that."
Hard pass. We're gonna hard pass that one.
Yeah, a couple people will take it. It's got the sweet doggo token.
It does have a few interesting things about it, but again, it's one of these, like, I think I can only get you interested in it if it's free. Like, literally, if I'm like, but would you pay me like $2, you know, $5 for the series decks? Like no.
Pay me to take them. There you go.
I swear to God. Lastly, he points out here the Heroes of Dominaria board game.
Oh God.
This is from WizKids. Let me just say, first of all, WizKids has a history and a reputation, and I'm not just making this up. I just ain't throwing shade. They have a history of missing release dates. So here's a good lesson for Wizards. These types of sort of ancillary products, they have to hit when the set or the theme or the product or the planeswalker or whatever thing you're making it about is the focus. That's when you release the product. That's like if they released, you know, a Black Panther board game right now. Yeah, it's cool that it's Black Panther, but if you'd have released it last February, how much better would it have done? This thing was announced and it was already coming out too late. They announced it and they said it was coming out in August for a set that showed up in April. And by the time August showed up, you were like, wait, where is it? And then it didn't come out until December. And some people didn't get their pre-orders until January.
Yeah, like, if there's a War for the Spark board game, it better be coming out in April.
It really needs to. And this whole thing with the 2 editions, would you really seriously stop it? If anybody from WizKids happens to hear this, stop it with the painted and unpainted versions. Just do the premium edition. Just do the nice one. Just make a nice one. Or just don't. And just figure it out, because you split your audience amongst a product that is already going to be hard to sell to the niche you're trying to make it sell to. Just take a look at your D&D board games, okay? Seriously.
Yeah. Now, I will say that if you have an extra one of those that has the painted minis, I would take that. As opposed to Mu Yanling versus Doggo token.
Well, we don't have a lot of them because it hasn't sold very, very well. And it's just one of those things where it's like,
we're very lucky in Magic where, you know, we take it for granted that these sets come out on time, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Where Magic has not missed a release date in ever.
It's just one of those things where it's like, you know, I worked at SCG for 5 years, and, you know, Magic releases are clock work. They happen on the days they're going to happen every single time. MFNM happens every single time. And I come to cool stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, the hobby industry is insane. Nothing makes sense. Stuff just comes out whenever it shows up. And you're like, well, so-and-so board game's coming out such and such. And you're like, yeah, but it's stuck at the port and they didn't know that. Or it's coming from China, or it's stuck in a distributor's warehouse somewhere. Maybe it'll show up next week. The whole industry is insane, and it's starting to be taken over by Amazon and Kickstarter, which is entirely splintering that industry anyway. So to compare all that madness you're like, wow, Wizards really has their stuff together. Because when you're working with an external company who has problems hitting due dates or release dates, that's bad. That's like a, you know, it's almost setting yourself up to fail at that point, where not only did you miss the hot window, you missed like the cooling down window that you said you were going to make in the first place. So now we ain't got much. And so if these things don't do well, there's that narrative of like, Magic just can't work for board games. And like, yes, it can. If you release it when you need to, if you hit the right notes.
Board games are like the ugly friend that Magic stands next to look more attractive.
Maybe. Yikes. Well, they won't put a card in it. They will not. They absolutely 100% refuse to put a Magic card in these board games. And I understand why. I get it. You want them to stand on their own.
Right.
But you really need to put something in there. Just put a promo
tokens in there.
Just put a promo token that you can only get the artwork in there.
Yeah, perfect.
Something. It doesn't need to be a promo Snapcaster. You just need to put something in there that says, if you like the game, then there's something cool that's connected to Magic. If you love Magic, here's something that gives you a reason to buy the board game. And you have to release it on time so that we're excited about it and we buy into the hype. That game is not doing well because at the end of the day, it's not that great of a game. It's not even that bad of a game. It's just fine. It's just fine. And you needed better than fine for your first product if it's going to come out late. All right. That's my soapbox on that one.
I want to quickly acknowledge Evan real quick. I like it when you go on those rants because I have no frame of reference of the business aspect of things. So I learn a lot when you go on these rants. So don't ever apologize for going on these, you know, business side of things because you got all that experience. It's really fascinating to me. Yeah, and I'm just watching the show, so you know, not like I have to take part in it. So it's a good thing I don't have to talk or anything.
I'm just words with the words as I continue to rant about stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, moving on. Rich Hagon tweeted out. He said, look, just to confirm, amidst much uncertainty, I'm continuing to work on MTG, including things upcoming I can't talk about yet, as all coverage freelancers try to work out what 2019 looks like. I will be very quiet here until I can avoid sparking rumors and speculation. Hugs are.
Must be nice. You have MTA doing a Patreon drive on Twitter and talking about the difficulties that they're having. So I'm really glad that he's flourishing, but it would be nice if that was trickling down to everybody.
I mean, ultimately, they're not killing all the coverage, just a whole lot of it, to the point
I mean,
where...
Okay.
And also, and again, this is, and we were talking about this in the pre-show, Wizards, if GP video coverage is dead, please tell us. Don't do this, you know, let it fade away, and we just won't talk about it. This is the same thing you did with the Community Cup, where this was a multi-year institution that died, and you just didn't want to talk about it. You didn't want to explain. So instead of having a article where you looked back and you said, you know, this was Community Cup when it got started, and this was a great year, and here were some fun memories, and wasn't it a great time, and we're going to go in a different direction, but man, didn't we have some, you know, some awesome things to look back on?
I mean, Wizards is literally ghosting us. You know, it's like when you're dating somebody and they don't actually break up with you, they just stop calling and coming around, and you're like, oh, we're just not together anymore. Got it. That's a terrible way to handle that.
And it just looks like it keeps trending that way, where they're just like, well, you know what? The community will just shut up about it. You know, the community will just get over it. They'll just go watch SCG and won't say anything about it. It's like, no, man, this was really important. This is something you built. Yeah, this is something you built up. You spent a ton of money on, a ton of time and effort and energy on. And even if it didn't get where you wanted it to go, just pay some respects, man. Pay some respects. It's really annoying when Wizards just drop stuff like a rock and doesn't say anything about it because they're sort of afraid to talk about the negatives. Well, you can also accentuate what was great about it and then acknowledge that you're not doing it anymore. And that doesn't make it bad.
I think it also speaks to the... I don't want to say manipulation necessarily, but I also think it speaks to the nature of the relationship that even the people who are being slighted are not really saying anything. And we kind of saw this with the pro players for a really long time. You know, there were pros, before the pros were being paid what they were worth, you know, I think there was this attitude of, well, they're not going to go anywhere. They love the game too much. And I feel like that gives people carte blanche to treat them poorly because they love the game so much. And you saw that with artists, you know, the recent controversy over artists, the feeling of, oh, well, you should be thankful to be here. You should be happy to even be invited to a GP. And now you're seeing that with these content creators, these coverage folks, you know, that same attitude of, you know, they love what they do. They love the game. they're not being treated the best, but they also don't know. And I feel like on the flip side, there is that attitude of they ain't gonna go nowhere, they ain't gonna say nothing. And that's a really, again, a lousy way to do business, counting on the fact that people love the game so much that they won't say anything.
It's really funny to me that we look at this and we react with the best reaction to this would be the Twitch emote, not like this, which for those of you who are students of Twitch and of Magic know is Ben Swartz, who used to do Magic coverage. So don't get rid of Magic coverage, not like this.
Yeah.
Not like this, and yet like this is what happened. Wanted to quickly mention here, congratulations to SCG Baltimore Team Open champions Liz Lynn, Ryan Overturf, and Jacob Hagan. That was terrific. Congratulations.
I don't know anybody on Twitter who wasn't rooting for this team. It was an incredible run. You know, Ryan Overturf, very popular coverage person. Liz Lynn, very popular Twitter personality, MTG Finance. Their friend Jason, I believe is his name, was part of their team as well. Everyone was rooting for them. Twitter blew up. Twitch blew up. Liz is the first woman to win a 2-day open. I didn't know that opens used to only be 1 day.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Wow, you sweet summer child.
I had no idea. So I remember when
Evan and I worked almost. Did we only work on 1-day opens?
No, I think we went through the transition.
I think we went to 2-day opens. Yeah,
I
because
didn't
you
know
trained Nick Miller on the 2-day stuff.
I remember watching
that's right.
where Nick Miller said that about her, and I was like, what does that mean? And then people were like, they used to be 1 day, and I was like, I had no idea. So really sweet run, really sweet decks, and just everybody was very happy for them.
Yeah. So congratulations to you guys. It's also fun to go back to Ryan's tweet before the weekend. He was like, I don't know if this deck's going to work, you know.
And the best moment by far was when Liz was giving her coverage interview and her fiance was watching from a table, and Emma took a picture of it and shared it and was like, get somebody who looks at you the way that Liz's fiance looked at her during the interview. And you see her at the table just like freaking out, and it's like, that's love right there.
Yeah, that's great.
Whatever that is.
That's fantastic. All right, so there was an announcement this week from Ben Drago.
Who?
Ben Drago is...
Well, I can tell you who Ben Drago is because I found his LinkedIn when researching this page. He's anyway, sorry, Evan, go ahead and do the thing while I find his page.
Sure. Ben Drago used to be a big part of Hearthstone, as I understand it.
Yep.
And he's excited to, he tweets here, he's very excited to be starting a new adventure as senior manager of competitive gaming for Wizards_Magic. My journey in this industry started a long time ago by cracking packs of alpha around a kitchen table, so I'm honored and a little bit humbled to be here.
What does that mean? Go through that thread. You'll notice that maybe 2 people were like, hey, what's that mean? No one else thought to ask this man what that title means. Like,
well,
ow.
I think this is the title that allows me to say, Mr. Ben Drago, would you please not have the top 8 mythic slots go to the invitational type event in the future because it promotes really unhealthy behavior? Please and thank you. That's what I got on that one.
Yeah, I mean, his CV is kind of unbelievable. He is so right now he just became the senior manager of competitive gaming. Previous to that, he was a project manager for Hearthstone Esports for 2.5 years. So he was in charge of all of that, which is kind of crazy. Previous to that, he was a consultant for Tetranomic, which is a gaming platforming kind of company. Previous to that, he founded Gamehead. Remember Gamehead? Nobody remembers Gamehead. That's a tabletop gaming company.
Sorry.
And
Aaron Campbell.
Yeah, how dare you? But here are the ones that you'll like most for Magic: The Gathering competitive play. He was director of marketing and organized play for Cryptozoic.
Okay.
Oh.
And for 5.5 years, he was the marketing manager of organized play and the marketing program manager for Upper Deck.
Oh.
So he's been around the game for a while. So it seems like a good hire. I just don't know what the hell he's going to be doing.
I'm not sure. Maybe did he have some, impact into this duo standard thing where you take deck 1 or 2 and whatever?
I mean, maybe. That doesn't seem like what he would have his fingers in terms of what he would be in charge of. I would hope that it would be more technical side of things, but who knows?
Well, it helps kind of pivot here, and I was using the wrong overlay, into Desperate Ravings. where MTG Goldfish, our friend Seth, Saffron Olive, wrote about the future is as bright as it is uncertain. There is a lot of question marks at this point surrounding MTG Arena and its importance and how much spotlight it's going to get, how much money it's going to pull away from any sort of paper endeavors. He highlights the difficulty of sideboarding, and for what it's worth, ever since this new change where you can play best of 3 ranked and you jump 2 spots every single time you win best of 3 ranked, that actually seems to have worked out pretty well. And as far as I can tell, that's been really well received. People are really happy about it, to have both options, to have them count in different ways. And I don't have to slug through 45 minutes of matches when I just want an 8 to 10 minute, best of 1 experience. But you do have that ability if you want to go deep, or if you want to be a pro player and always play the best of 3. That's certainly something that you can do. Again, I think a lot of this article kind of dismisses the fact that Wizards has done a lot of these changes and has said very little about them. We still, to this day, don't know how to qualify for, like, where those Mythic Championship qualifiers are going to be, who's going to get them and why, how many are there going to be and where. Like, how are you going to get in the MPL in 2020?
Yeah.
I don't know. But he goes on and he speaks about Magic Arena and how it simplifies the game in some way. He also mentions, he kind of compares it to Hex and Artifact, which were just big, complicated messes, honestly, which kind of failed, I think, because they were complicated and messy in many ways. But in some ways, I think, and there's a couple articles, or another one that came out on Hipsters of the Coast, where, there's that kind of thinking of like, oh my God, they're killing Magic like they do every couple years. And then it's like, well, it's not really that bad, so why don't you guys just chill out? And then the truth is usually somewhere in the middle of, they're probably killing or hurting or taking something away that you don't like. And they're probably adding or providing or doing something differently that may very well improve Magic. But because they're doing something we don't like, we don't really pay much attention to what the positive upside could be.
Yeah, I mean, you said it all right there. I just think that it is a scary world right now for us, particularly us. We are the old guard at this point. New people are coming to Magic every day, primarily these days through Magic Arena. And so that is the future. The mind-blowing thing to me always is the lack of integration that Magic has between its digital product and its paper product. It still blows my mind that the disconnect is so wide there because of how unique Magic is. It's in a unique position to be able to take advantage of it, and they still just don't use it, and it blows my mind every time.
So here's a question: the War of the Spark, when is that pre-release happening? We think it might be early April because that's like the only gap in the weekends for Magic Fest, I think.
Right.
Maybe.
It might be early April. If we're going off of when Dominaria came out last year.
That was a year ago already.
Dominaria came out April 27th of last year. So it might be later in April. But the only opening in the schedule is the first weekend of April.
Like, I could have sworn that Wizards had announced the pre-release weekend, but going back and trying to Google it and trying to figure it out, and there was a tweet from someone who said, I hate how I'm literally in a holding pattern and can't schedule any events for April because I have no idea when War of the Spark pre-release is supposed to be. Wizards, you need to get yourself in gear, which you do. We need to figure this out, guys. This is not good. You can do better here.
It's a problem. I mean, again, it's affecting our set review Kickstarter thing, which, by the way, there will be that'll be coming sometime soonish. So keep an eye out for that. Once we send out the potatoes and the final bits from Guilds of Ravnica.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of bizarre that it could be literally any of the weekends in April and maybe even the first weekend of May, and we just don't know.
I'm not sure yet. And Wizards, please. They're doing this weird thing where they're like, we're messing around with timetables and when we announce stuff. And like I said with Ultimate Masters, you can get screwed or you can hurt businesses that you think you're helping by like, oh, we're building the hype by only showing 4 weeks out. It's like, yeah, but you're also putting people in a lot of bind because things that players don't think about and that ultimately can hurt people who are trying to help, build and grow and sell your game. Don't have a lot of time left, but I want to go ahead and talk real quickly about the Jesper Myrfors interview.
Sure.
Is that correct? Did I screw that up?
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Running hot tonight.
Running hot. Okay. Well, look.
You didn't say it with enough of the Scandinavian like frog in the throat. It's supposed to be
push it.
Jesper Myrfors. Jesper Myrfors. It should sound like exactly. It should sound like that you're running a 45 backwards on your record.
Well, there was a really interesting interaction there where he says, where they asked him, what was your last set working on as an art director? And he said, I don't remember. It was probably the year 2000, but by then I had just completely lost interest in the entire process and left the team. And that's the thing. He said, and they said, well, at this point, Wizards of the Coast was turning into a relatively big company, right? And he says, the passion was for profit, not for the game. I'm not saying that people who worked on Magic didn't have passion for it. I'm saying at the heart of the company, they didn't have passion for it. R&D really cared about the game. And for what it's worth, I think to this very day, R&D has always 100% cared and loved about Magic. But I've heard arguments in that place over minutia. It almost came to blows. But the suits really stopped caring more and more. And you know, when that happens, things start to go downhill pretty quickly. I think Hasbro has saved Wizards of the Coast in some ways. Magic would have eaten itself if left in the hands it was in. If they can keep the greed down to a dull roar, they might actually keep it going for a long time.
Ooh, tea is hot.
The tea is very, very hot. And,
yikes.
And Jesper doesn't pull a lot of punches these days when he talks about Magic and Wizards and what's going on with the game itself. So yeah, that's a thing. And again, there is very much almost a two sides of Wizards. There are the people who love Magic and it's all Magic and Magic has the emotional resonance, and there's the people who don't care technically, emotionally about Magic. And in some ways, as a business, that's a positive. But if you sway too far, essentially one end or the other, you could have a serious problem. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise that Hasbro came in and swooped in when they did. I guess we'll see.
It's a wild interview. There is no filter there, and I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty terrific. There's links in the show notes. You can put that link in the chat, please, if you wouldn't mind. But that said, I want to go ahead and go over here and pick a winner. It's time to pick a winner for the giveaway. And the winner is Apex 41, AYPEKS 41.
Oh, congratulations. I've seen them in the chat regularly.
Very nice, very nice. Well, congratulations. Please contact Miss Erin, Miss Original Ostress, and she will get your information and get you your gift certificate code.
I thought they won a bag of Mu Yanling versus Li Shijian.
I'm sending you 7 of them. I hope you like it.
Great.
Let us know. But no, congratulations on that. That is terrific. We're gonna move on here. There was some splash damage that we didn't get to touch on. Mainly Twitch getting their tax forms late, and then somebody got busted, and that like a pedophile thing.
Grisly. Oh my god.
Woof. That's awkward and gross. So let's move over here to the finisher, which we begin with our thank you to all of our subs and our bit givers.
That's right.
So let's go ahead and dive in here to our subs. Mr. Lubufu has resubbed for 9 months in a row.
He gave birth in our chat.
So
that's right.
I shared
9-month Twitch baby.
Yeah, I shared my 9-month Twitch baby already. I guess there are Twitch twins now. There's Twitch twins.
Oh my god, our chat is so fertile.
Sheth DMMD resubbed for 4 months. Thank you with It Begins. Bloodgaze resubbed for 2 months. Thank you. Arcane Lore resubbed for 8 months. I come for the content, but stay for the jokes.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice. Super Nintendo Chalmers 1998 resub for 6 months. Thank you. Sexy Soy has resubbed for 4 months in a row. Good to see the 3 best Magic podcasters named Ruben, Evan, and Aaron.
Oh, sweetie.
I'll take that mantle.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. Thunder Voice _1 resub for 10 months. Double digits achieved, they said, which you have. Thank you very, very much. Cat Calliope has subscribed. Welcome to the channel. You are wonderful. Thank you very much. A Little Aloof resub for 10 months in a row. He gives this podcast a 10 out of 10 months.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Good job.
Very. Captain Harlock 13 resub for 2 months. Thank you. Apex 41 resub for 4 months. Congratulations. Seeing that's paying off for you. Tesla Prime resub for 5 months. Says working 70+ hours a week means Wednesday is a special day with you 3 and Arena. Thank you, guys and gal.
Wow.
I've never worked 70 hours total in my life.
Like all put together.
All put together.
Well, thank you very much for spending time with us. You can spend it anywhere in the world, and we appreciate it. Beyond Sadistic has resubbed for 6 months. Thank you. Joe the Marrow resubbed for 4 months. Awesome. 4 months, he says. House of Shadow. Oh, sorry, that's you. That's the bit stuff. We'll let you have it. Chris RD19 resubbed for 6 months. Half a year? What am I doing with my life? He says.
Hopefully reading up on Rosticon, because we got a fight on Sunday.
House of Shadow says, after they resubbed for 9 months, didn't I resub last week?
Ruben, I just want to interrupt for a minute. Chad is going wild for that hoodie. You need to tell people where to get that.
We gotta get that hoodie.
Okay, I'm looking it up right now. I think so this was a birthday present for my sister. I got the link here. This was from Think Geek, and I'm going to paste the link in the chat right.
Okay.
Very nice.
I got you.
All
I got you, chat.
Ruben, I will let you take over for the bits.
Sure. Before I get to the bits real quick, I wanted to give a quick shout out to the Wizards Guild in Athens, Ohio, which is still one of my 2 home stores. I probably played over 100 FNMs there. When Evan first hired me to work as a writer at Star City Games, I was a cashier at the Wizards Guild. It recently closed, which is really sad. So, you know, all my thoughts to all my homies still in Athens, Ohio, especially
your local game stores.
Especially Audrey Kiselevich, who was one of the players who I played with for a long time there with Magic and D&D and comics and all that kind of stuff. Bought the store, and it recently had to shut down, which really, really sucks. So, shout out to the Wizards Guild. I love you all. And now we'll move on to the cheers, which recently we decided that I was going to be doing different voices to thank the cheers. And this week's decision was to go with Mark Rosewater. So thank you to Mr. Labufu for 50 bits. House of Shadow, 69 bits. Nice. Cows, it was 300 bits. Drunk Gaming, also 500 bits. Tim's War, 550 bits. MTG Effect with 1,000 bits. You know what that means?
There's a few smaller bits that aren't showing up on that chart. JDubs 2008 sent a couple. Martin Casa sent one. Thank you very much. Patchwork Wit gave us 4, and I think and then lastly, Mr. Labufu sent 10 bits.
I love that your Rosewater voice is so powerful it warps technology. Like, you could be having a really great night, and then the minute you start Rosewater, like, the sound cracks, the screen.
Did it?
Usually, like, and it's not a bad thing, but it's just
crazy.
It's just the timing is good.
All right.
I got my new microphone set up and everything. I thought that it could handle it.
The power of Rosewater, man, is just too great.
Well, we turn the corner here to the finisher. Now, look, Magic cosplayer and prop maker Olivia Gobert Hicks,
Queen,
showed off her sweet new Magic themed vanity plates today. As you can see them right here. I'm gonna bring them up on the screen. Check out that Sol Ring plate from Nevada.
She's a mess.
First of all, Nevada. But yes.
Okay.
Nevada. Okay.
It's fine.
It's fine. Yep, that's right. Sol Ring. And this is the latest in a long lineage of classic custom card themed combinations, from Infect to Bellerin to Bolt U to UUBBBRR, copying Cruel Ultimatum's casting cost, because there is, of course, always a greater horsepower. Now, we here at Magic Mics are all about being #on brand. So if you were to get yourself one of them sweet personalized plates for yourself, what might you get, Aaron?
Well, earlier today, someone suggested I get Mul2 Bazaar, MUL2BZR, which is pretty great. If I'm being honest with myself, I think the real answer here would be a license plate that simply says Dredge 6.
Very nice. It's on the screen here if you happen to be watching the show, or if you're not watching, now's the time to come and look over the screen, which is terrific. Ruben?
Perfect. I've had a personalized plate before, as Evan knows. I had Ining back in the day when I was doing the news Ining and the interviews Ining. But these days, I've shifted my brand a little bit, so I think nothing would be more truly Ruben Bressler, more accurate for Mox Ruby or for my existence than a nice, clean O2 drop.
Well, look, I've got lots of options here, of course. 5 Kids, On Brand, Red Zone. But there's one thing I like hearing more than anything else. The magical phrase we all want ringing in our ears. The most loving thing anyone can whisper in my ear. That magical phrase is subscribe.
Right now. Right?
Oh, man. Wow. Oh, it's so beautiful.
So good.
I'm excited just thinking about it.
That's fantastic. But that also ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. And see you on the Broken Pact Monday night, everybody.
That's right. Tune in as we move to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-hosts, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching or listening, and hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, Twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at MagicMicsPodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMicsPodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week. Same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.